Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. Thanks for joining me, whether you're watching live on Facebook or if you're catching the replay on Facebook or YouTube. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I am here to help you connect with your people, whether that's gathering together to craft or you making handmade items to share with them. It's all about making and deepening those connections. So let's get to it. All righty. So first up is Friday Night Stampin', and I completely forgot to post the winner today. So drum roll. It is the bird card, which was mine. Yay! So yes, so Russ made this fabulous hope card, which got quite a few votes because let's face it, we could all use a little hope, right? So yeah, and I loved that one very much. You guys obviously loved the bird card, and I had a feeling you would because of that pop of color. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do tonight. So I will post that. I'll post my picture with my card tomorrow because I totally forgot. Hello, Penny. Thanks for joining me. So yes, so tonight I am going to give you some tips on improving your results with our Stampin' Blends. I was not what I would call a good colorer for many, many years, and I disliked coloring for many, many years. I was not even like a coloring book child. And honestly, I think I told this story on Facebook, I don't know, like a year or so ago, but it kind of stems back to like second grade when my teacher at the time, hi, Russ, when my teacher at the time basically ridiculed my coloring because, you know, I was 7. So let's say I color bad. That's self-esteem boosting. So clearly still holding on to that a little bit. But it literally stuck with me for so many years that like that was just not my talent. And I was surrounded by many people in every class in school that had talent artistically. And I just thought, well, that's just not mine. I always used to joke that's why I stamp, because I can't draw a stick figure without a ruler. So, but through a lot of people sharing their knowledge and so forth, I have practiced and I have gotten better at coloring, and that's what I'm hoping to help you do tonight. So let us get to it. So we're going to, it's really a very simple monochromatic card beside those birds, which is kind of what I was going for. So it's nice that it worked out like that. So let's get our birds out here from our Winterly Treetops. We are using the bundle tonight because we are going to die cut them, obviously. Let's see. Got well, that block really isn't big enough. Hold a moment, please. I clearly didn't leave the block out that I was using when I did this. So I will change, as always, there's a supply list for all the supplies I use in the video description, and I will change it to include this block instead of the D block, because you do need a little bit larger one. If you've ever looked, though, in my online store and in any of the catalogs you have, there will be suggested block sizes by any of the stamp sets. So you know if you have those blocks at home or if you need to pick a new one up to fit any of the stamps. So normally I would stamp that really close to the corner so that I would save some cardstock, but I'm just doing what all the other video kids do, right? Just smack dab in the center. All righty. So now we're going to get to coloring. So my first tip is if you don't have the Glass Mat Studio yet, it does help with your blends coloring because as you probably know, blends seep through the cardstock. So you always want to have something to protect your surface. So if you just got some paper under there, it's fine. It's going to protect your surface, but that alcohol ink is going to soak into that paper underneath as well. And with the Glass Mat Studio, I noticed that it kind of stays wetter on my cardstock longer because there's nothing underneath it for it to seep into. So it's a little easier to blend. It's not a huge difference. So if you don't have the Glass Mat Studio yet, don't worry about it. You can totally do all of this without, and just make sure you have something underneath to protect your surface so you don't get bleed through, right? So I also wanted to show you my inspiration for these two little birds came from the Nests of Winter paper that's part of this suite. So we had this great guy. I think there's, oh, no. Yeah, so he was all blue up top and everything, and then he had this gorgeous orange breast. And then these two that were all like Pool Party and Cabana, and then the yellow orangey under the wing there. So those were my two inspirations. You can kind of see him over there for what I was doing. And I literally had that piece of paper out next to me as I was coloring so that I could mimic what was going on. It is not exact, obviously, but that's fine. So my personal preference is to start with my dark color blends and add the dark where I want it, and then go over everything with light. You can start with your light color of because they come in packs of two, a light and a dark. So you can start with your light and then go to your dark. It's either or. This is my personal preference. I think I'm going to use the bullet tip. We're going to go right over. I want the darker on his wing, and I want it on his head. Kind of around his eye, I guess. And then a little bit down into his tail. All right. So I'm just going to lay down that color, and then I'm going to pull out the light. This is Blueberry Bushel, by the way. And we're just going to marry those two. I'm going to go over even the dark parts that I did with that lighter color. And that will blend those lines in. And what's really nice, especially when you're doing something like this, like who's to say where that blue is going to stop, right? You're the only one that's going to say that. So don't worry about it if you think you messed up, or if you went a little over where you wanted to stop. Nobody else is going to know. So then we're going to come in with our pumpkin pie. And again, I'm going to do the dark first, and we're just going to go right next to that. I'm going to be careful not to go into the blue because it will blend that together, and I don't want that with the orange because that'll turn muddy, I'm thinking. So I want the dark pumpkin pie. I'm going to put down a pretty good layer there. Oh, and nope, I did the light one. And then I'm going to take the light. I think I'm going to do the brush tip on this. We're going to go in some circles, and I'm just going to extend that color down. And as that dries, that'll look a little more blended. And then I'm going to add a little bit to his beak and a little bit to this one's beak too. All righty. So literally that's it, guys. You just put down some color, you go over it with the other one. That's how you get the really nice shading, right? This one's got a little bit more going on. So again, this is Pool Party. We're going to start with the dark. I think we're going to do the brush tip on this. I'm going to put down quite a bit on his wing, a little bit just top of its head here. And we're going to come in with the light Pool Party, and we'll fill in the rest of his head. Again, I'm going circular around where that line is between the dark and the light because I want that to blend really nicely. We're going to add a little skosh to his tail. Okay, so here's where the extra little bit goes on. We're going to go with the pumpkin pie again. We're going to put a very light or a thin line of the dark pumpkin pie right next to his wing. We're going to go in with the light pumpkin pie. and extend that. And I just kind of do in little circular motion. And it will kind of, if you put a lot of ink down, it'll blend out a little bit too. It'll bleed. So you don't need to worry about having an exact line. And then we're going to come in with the Dark Daffodil Delight. I'm going to grab the brush tip and I'm going to start in the pumpkin pie and just extend it a bit here. And it's just going to brighten up that pumpkin. And again, we're going to wait for that to dry a little bit. And you can see on the bluebird here that we've got some shading going on there, and it's gone really nice. Hey, Tracy, you made it live tonight. Nice. Welcome, welcome. So now for the easier part is the branches and the berries, because I wanted the focus to be on those birds. I do make it look easy. I know, but you know what, Penny? Like the first time you ever baked something, it probably didn't go perfectly. When you tried to ride a bike, it didn't go perfectly. When you drove a car, it probably didn't go perfectly. But the more you did it, the easier it became. And now, like, all of us just drive a car without thinking about it. And sometimes we get to our destination and go, I don't remember doing that. So we're on autopilot, right? So the more you do something, just like anything else, the better you get at it. So I've got the light pecan pie here, or pecan, whichever you prefer. And I'm going to do no shading on these branches. I'm just going to color. And one of the things I love about the blends is you don't get those marker lines or pencil lines like you do with the Stampin' Write markers or the colored pencils. It's just a smooth finish. So no matter if you're doing one color or multiple, it's all smooth and nice and blended. And you can see like that orange to yellow has gotten really nice. So it's a lot brighter than this one. Yellow is one of those things that I found out at an event that if you're coloring anything with, browns or oranges or, even like some reds and stuff, add a little yellow over it and it just brightens it up and makes it a whole new hue. And so that's a really nice experiment. And I will say, grab some scrap cardstock and experiment. Just go ahead and just stamp some images or just color, squiggles and see what blends nicely. Oh, okay, this happened to me the other night too. Oh my gosh. I forgot. I should have marked this one so that didn't happen on camera. So I got to kind of wiggle the top off. Doggone it. It's just my cherry cobbler marker. Let's see if I can grab it with this. Holy moly. I know I got it off the other night, obviously, because I used it. There we go. So I'm not sure if I can glue that in there or what. It hasn't happened to any of my others. So yeah, awkward, totally. See, you don't really have to be that good to do this, guys. So with this one, it is the light cherry cobbler. And I'm literally just going to make some dots in the center of these berries. I am not going to go all the way to the outside. I'm leaving a little bit of white space. And that's something else, just kind of looking at what other people do. When I see something online or in person that I'm like, oh, I love the way that, wow, she's just such an artist. And then I'll start to kind of really look at the details on what makes it special. And it'll be that kind of blending out and mixing of colors, or it'll be the leaving the white space. I've seen a lot of that. So you're not, kind of adds a little dimension, I think. So again, one color, no blending involved. Oh yeah, no, I totally know you're teasing, Tracy. And it was offered. Oh my gosh. All right. So there we go. I mean, very similar results. I came down farther with the orange, but that was about it. So, um, you can really, once you start kind of working with it, and especially, like I said, when I grabbed the papers and just kind of went, oh yeah, those, I like those guys. Let's see if I can kind of mimic that. So, that helped a lot as well. Now, I will say, if you're just adamant that you're not going to color at all, and you're never going to be good at it, and you don't want to be, and that's fine, then what you can do is a lot of our papers like these, you can just use the die cuts to cut out the ones that the artists at Stampin' Up! Already colored in for you. So like this little blackbird with the red breast. And these couple right here. So boom, instant fabulously colored birds, and you didn't have to do a thing, just die cut them. So there's always a way around. All right, but we're going to die cut those tonight. Oh, and thank goodness I remembered a while ago so I had two things of Post-it note tape. I left one over here at my video station because I was always forgetting. So the only reason I do that, for those of you that have not seen that before, is so that my die will not move when I go to put it in my sandwich and everything. There's nothing worse, right, than going through all the trouble of like coloring the perfect birds, and suddenly your die slips and you ruined it. So, all righty. So these will fit on the mini, and on the supply lists, whenever we're doing die cutting, if it'll fit in the mini machine, I will put mini on there, but obviously if it fits in the mini machine, you can use the bigger one as well. If it will not fit in the mini machine, then I put, then I put the large machine. So you know that you've got to have that one and it won't work in the mini. And if you have both like I do, then it really doesn't matter, does it? Spoiled, so spoiled. All righty. So now we've got, okay, die cut birds, boom. Now we're on to just assembly. Awesome. Okay, so we have, we're working with gray granite tonight, and that came right from the, no, it was this way, right from the pack of Designer Series paper, that little strip there. So that it would all be, like I said, very monochromatic, except for that pop of color with the birds. So that is a really nice tip, I think, too, is that whenever you're creating something, if you're not copying something from somebody else, it's just good to think about having one focal point and not competing for attention kind of in multiple areas of your card. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do not excel at the collage style of stamping. And I showed you one of the birthday cards I got last week that she did a fabulous job, my friend Linda. And I think because all those things, it's like the whole card is a focal point, and I'm better at, let's pick a focal point and then just kind of support it. So I love this little, birch trees are my favorite. So I love this little strip of birch wood. It looks like birch wood, at least to me. So we've got gray granite, we've got white, and then we've got a strip with white and gray granite. And then we've got another strip of gray granite, and we are going to do our sentiment. And so even though this is a winter kind of stamp set, there is nothing Christmas in it as far as stamp sets, which is very interesting. But that also means that'll last you all season long. And plus, you can obviously use these birds in the springtime as well, because, hey, that's when they hang out, right? Just change the color. But you've got a thanks and a thinking of you. And I love this. A friend like you brings me happiness. And I just thought, because there were two birds, that was the perfect little sentiment for this one. Okay. All right, I have to throw the Stamper Man under the bus a little bit. It was so funny. We were stamping last weekend, and he was using a cling set. And he says, is there a trick to lining up your sentiments when they're on the red rubber? I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Like, you're pulling my leg. And what he meant to say was, what was the trick? Because I'm like, I say this every week. All right, so I line my block up with a grid line. If you don't have the glass mat, if you have just grid paper or our big grid paper that we sell, or, you know, heck, you went to the office supply store and got grid paper, it's nice to have because of this type of thing. So line your block up with a grid, and then I'm going to take, probably this bottom words, and I'm going to line those up with one of those grid lines as well. Now, I will say the problem with the glass mat is that the block tends to scooch around, which it obviously doesn't do on my grid paper. Right under the bus. I had to. It was so funny. I'm like, I know you tune into my videos every week. How are you just asking me this right now? Okay. The other thing I usually do is after I line that up, I will also stamp it on my grid paper or my glass mat, and I will line up the bottom of the block with a grid line. Nice. And it is straight. And make sure it's straight before I go to my cardstock. Now, the nice thing is, if you go to your cardstock and it's wrong, our cardstock has two sides, so you can just flip it over, which is why you do all your stamping before you assemble. Okay. So I've got my cardstock with a grid line as well, and I'm going to bring my block and line it up probably with the bottom of the cardstock. But I do want it to be on the left side. Perfect. I love it. I'm using your chamois, honey. Mine was not moist. All righty. Now we've got another little trick for angling the end. It's not so much a trick this time because I'm only doing one end. I've got my little trimmer here. And I want to go right from that corner, and I just want to angle it just for some interest. Now, if I wanted to angle the other end as well, what I would do is flip this over, and I would line this angle up with one of the lines on your trimmer, and then if you went ahead and cut it, they would be exactly the same angle. Which, if you're real persnickety, that's a nice word for it, is a handy little thing to know. Okay. So we can go ahead and attach this one too. So everything is flat to the card except these birds, because they are the star of the show. So that is lined up there, so it just flows right from one gray granite to the next. And ooh, fresh seat of, oh, I have to go right in the middle because this one's missing the topper. Oh, that's problematic for me. Okay. Well, we'll just have to build a little design. If the Stamper Man were here, he would build me a nice design in the middle of this. One down by the berries. Because I like to go in rows when I start my dimensionals. Like, I'm not a boring person, but I can be real regimented about certain things. So the other thing I wanted to do is this little cutout is like straight up and down. So I wanted that to be straight up and down with the white over here. And I also wanted that tail. Russ and I conferred on this, and we decided that the tail needed to come down into the sentiment piece so it would ground it. So they would all kind of be connected, right? So there you go. Oh, and the inside. Quick little spot for the inside. And all I did for that was a little strip of this birch paper. Got a little schmutz on that side, so I'm going to do a really thin, okay, not that thin, it's got to come out. There we go. Really thin line of liquid glue because I don't want it to seep out. And then my card won't open because it's stuck together. There we go. I know, I'm just going through different adhesives tonight, aren't I? And I was making some rosettes over the weekend as well. I spent a lot of time in the craft room, so I've got that kind of, I don't know, which side do we want it on? I think the outside. I was working on the details of rosettes so I could show you how to make some of those and some fun ideas. Oh my gosh, I found some really good inspiration. So stay tuned for that for sure. Not tonight, but maybe next week. Yeah, so we will work on that. So that is some of the tips I have. And I got to say, one of the very biggest things that I can tell you to do is practice, practice, practice. And if you just have a bunch of scrap cardstock, just do some little images and get used to using the blends first, and then get used to blending the two colors together, or the two shades together. And let me pop up here so we can chat better. So I'm not this teeny little thing. Yeah, you just really need to practice, because I was not great at it when I started, and I would use too much ink or too little ink or the wrong colors together. That's one of the things too. Like if you're using designer paper like that, it's a really good way to get started because you already know those colors look good together. So pick out something that you like together and just apply those and kind of get started that way. Another thing that you can do is take a strip of scrap cardstock when you're trying to decide what colors to use, because the caps, will tell you just so much, right? But how is it going to look on the cardstock you're using? So you can do little swatches and just, little hash mark kind of things. And all right, bye, Trace. Yes, so. Oh, thank you, Penny. This is a new necklace I got on Saturday. The Stamper Man hadn't seen it yet. I'm basically stalking this one woman that makes gorgeous jewelry, and she was at the craft fair I went to on Saturday, and I had to have it. So I will take a closer up shot for you because Penny, you will love this. It is so cool and unusual, and yeah, she's really good. So, all right. Well, I think that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, if you got some inspiration or picked up some good tips, remember to share the videos so that your family and friends can get those things as well. Until next week, I'm still Nan Gurlitz. Happy stamping.